The emergency pod screamed through Veridia's emerald atmosphere, systems failing one by one as Elias Keller fought with the manual controls. The research vessel Prometheus had disintegrated in orbit above him, leaving him the sole survivor on a desperate trajectory toward the unexplored planet's surface. "Come on, you piece of—" His words were cut short as the pod slammed into a dense forest canopy, crumpling the outer shell and sending him crashing against the restraints. Pain exploded through his chest, darkness claiming him as the pod settled in a broken heap amid alien foliage. When consciousness returned, it came with the sensation of cool fingers against his temple. Elias jerked awake, instantly alert despite the pounding in his skull. The face hovering above his was almost human, copper-toned skin stretched over high cheekbones, but with distinctive ridges tracing from temples to jawline. Luminous violet eyes studied him with clinical detachment. "You are bleeding internally," she said, her voice melodic despite the clinical assessment. "The toxins from our atmosphere would have killed you had we not found you quickly." Elias tried to sit up, nodding the dwelling's circular design and the strange, luminescent plants providing soft light. "Who are you? Where am I?" "I am Kellara, healer of the astral tribe." She helped him to a sitting position. "You are on Veridia, a world your kind has visited only in secret until now." "My kind," Elias touched the bandages wrapped around his ribs. "You've seen humans before." Her expression shifted, something unreadable passing behind those violet eyes. "Yes, more than you know." Before he could question her further, the dwelling's entrance parted, and a small figure darted inside. A child, no more than 5 by Earth standards, with the same ridged features as Kellara but smaller, more delicate. Her skin had a silvery sheen that seemed to shimmer in the light, and her eyes, a striking blue unlike any he'd seen among the aliens, fixed on him with unabashed curiosity. "Is he awake now, Mother?" the child asked, approaching cautiously. Something about those eyes tugged at Elias' memory, a familiarity he couldn't place. The blue was almost human. "Yes, Myra, he is." Kellara placed a protective hand on the child's shoulder. Myra tilted her head, studying Elias with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. "Where have you been? I ask the stars for you every night." Elias looked to Kellara in confusion. "I don't understand. I've never been to this planet before." The child stepped closer, her small hand reaching out to touch his face with wonder. "Mother said you would come back one day. She said the stars would bring you home." "Myra," Kellara warned softly, but the child continued. "Why did you stay away so long?" Tears welled in those strangely familiar blue eyes. "Do you not wish to know me, Father?" The word hit Elias like a physical blow. He stared at the child, then at Kellara, whose face had gone carefully blank. "Father," he echoed, "that's impossible. I've never even—" But as he looked between them, he noticed details he'd overlooked. The child's eyes were his exact shade of blue, her hands 5-fingered unlike the 6-digited grip of her mother, her facial structure a bizarre but harmonious blend of human and Veridian traits. Kellara met his gaze steadily. "It has been nearly 6 cycles since you were last on Veridia, Elias Keller, 6 cycles since you were taken from us. The others made certain you would not remember." Her voice softened. "But your blood runs in my daughter's veins." "Our daughter," she corrected, as Myra's small hand found his and held on tight. Elias sat alone by the edge of the settlement, watching twin moons rise over Veridia's horizon. 3 days had passed since Kellara's impossible revelation, and still, no matter how hard he tried, he could not remember ever setting foot on this planet before his crash. "You are troubled," came Kellara's voice behind him. She moved with silent grace, settling beside him on the rock outcropping. "I should be," Elias replied, his voice tight. "Apparently I have a daughter I don't remember with a woman I've never met on a planet that was supposed to be unexplored." Kellara's violet eyes reflected the moonlight as she studied him. "Your mind was altered. The first human expedition came to Veridia 8 cycles ago in secret. You were their xenobiologist." "That's impossible," Elias protested. "I was assigned to deep space missions in the Centauri system then. I have records, memories." "False ones," Kellara said quietly. She reached into her garment and withdrew a small metallic object. "This contains images from that time. You gave it to me for safekeeping." Elias took the device reluctantly. With a touch, it projected a holographic image into the air between them, and his breath caught. There he was, younger but unmistakably himself, standing among alien flora, carefully cataloging specimens. Another image showed him with Kelara, heads bent together over some botanical sample, their expressions animated with shared discovery. "This could be fabricated," he whispered, but even as he said it, something stirred in his mind. The scent of Veridian flora after rainfall, the particular way sunlight filtered through the forest canopy. The images continued, showing their relationship evolving from professional to personal. In one, they stood together beneath a waterfall of luminescent blue, his arms around her waist, her head against his chest. "The Concilium would never have sanctioned this," Elias murmured. "First contact protocols were broken," Kelara finished, "by both of us." The final image showed Kelara, visibly pregnant, with Elias' hand resting protectively over her abdomen, his expression a mixture of wonder and fear. A flash of memory struck Elias, Kelara's skin warm beneath his palm, the startling sensation of movement beneath it, his voice whispering, "I'll find a way to protect you both." "Something happened," he said slowly. "Something went wrong." Kelara nodded, extinguishing the hologram. "Your mission was discovered. Your team was extracted forcibly. We later learned they underwent comprehensive memory modification." "And Myra, how is she even possible? Human-alien reproduction shouldn't." "Our species are more compatible than either of our sciences anticipated," Kelara said, a faint smile touching her lips. "Myra is unique in the universe, a bridge between worlds." As if summoned by her name, Myra appeared at the edge of the clearing, watching them with those unnervingly familiar blue eyes. "She has your curiosity," Kelara observed. "Your stubbornness, too." Elias watched as Myra approached, carrying something in her small hands. She held it out to him, a crude drawing showing 3 figures, one tall with ridges along its face, one small with blue eyes, and one that was clearly meant to be human. "I drew our family," she said simply. Something broke inside Elias then, a wall he hadn't known existed. Fragments of memory surfaced like bubbles in water, teaching Kelara Earth constellations, her laughter as he stumbled over Veridian words, the taste of her lips against his, forbidden and intoxicating. "I remember the waterfall," he whispered, meeting Kelara's startled gaze. "I remember promising to return." Myra climbed into his lap without hesitation, fitting herself against him as though she'd done it 1,000 times before. Perhaps, in another life he couldn't remember she had. "Will you stay this time?" she asked, her small voice carrying the weight of years of absence. Elias looked from the child to Kelara, seeing both stranger and beloved in her alien features. The tribal elder Tavik regarded Elias with undisguised suspicion as they entered the ancient chamber carved into the mountainside. Glowing symbols covered the walls, and at the center stood a crystalline structure humming with energy. "The memory wellspring is sacred," Tavik warned. "Few outsiders have been permitted access." "He is no outsider," Kelara challenged. "He is Myra's father and my bondmate, whether your council acknowledges it or not." Elias felt a rush of admiration for her fierce defense, even as uncertainty gnawed at him. In the weeks since his first memory breakthrough, fragments had continued surfacing, disjointed moments of his time on Veridia, but nothing cohesive enough to explain how everything had fallen apart. "The wellspring will reveal truths you may not wish to face," Tavik cautioned Elias. "Are you prepared for this?" Elias nodded. "I need to know who I was, who we were." Kelara guided him to the crystal structure. "Place your hands here, open your mind to it." The moment Elias' palms touched the crystal, energy surged through him. The chamber disappeared, replaced by vivid memories playing like recordings in his mind. He was sneaking away from the Earth encampment, meeting Kelara in a grove of bioluminescent trees. Their initial scientific collaboration had grown into something neither had anticipated. "This violates every protocol," he whispered against her neck. "Then why can't you stay away?" she challenged, pulling him closer. Their first night together, skin against skin, discovering the unexpected compatibility of their bodies. The thrill of forbidden connection, his hands mapping the unfamiliar ridges along her spine, her size teaching him new ways to give pleasure. The memories accelerated, intensified. A secret transmitted back to Earth, unauthorized genetic sampling of the Veridians. His horror upon discovering his superior's true agenda. They want to weaponize your biological adaptations, he told Kelara urgently. I have to stop this. Confronting the mission commander, being subdued. Waking to find himself restrained on the evacuation vessel, Kelara nowhere in sight. She's carrying my child, he shouted at the medical officer preparing the memory suppression equipment. Precisely why we need to erase this incident entirely, Dr. Keller. The ethical implications alone would end the space program, not to mention the biological impossibility. Fighting against the restraints as the equipment lowered toward his head. I promise to come back for them. Elias tore his hands from the crystal with a strangled cry, collapsing to his knees. Kelara was beside him instantly, her arms around him. I remember everything, he gasped. They weren't supposed to interfere with the Viridians at all, just observe and collect environmental samples, but the commander was secretly harvesting genetic material. When I threatened to report it. He looked up at her, anguish in his eyes. I tried to stay, I fought them. I know, she whispered. I saw them take you. Our relationship was a complication they couldn't allow to exist, Elias continued bitterly. So they erased it, gave me false memories of a different mission. And the Viridian Council, fearful of human interference, swore us to secrecy about your presence, Kelara added. Only my status as healer protected Myra and me from exile. Tavik stepped forward, his expression grave. Now you understand why your return complicates matters. The Council will soon learn of your presence. They will not welcome you. Elias stood steadier now. I don't care. I made a promise to come back, and even though they took that promise from my mind, I'm here now. He turned to Kelara. I lost you once. I won't lose you again. For the first time since his arrival, Kelara's composure cracked. She reached for him, her lips finding his in a kiss that bridged years of separation. The familiar taste of her unlocked yet more memories, quiet nights entwined in each other's arms, whispered plans for a future together, the joyous shock when they discovered her pregnancy. When they parted, Elias saw Tavik watching them with a mixture of resignation and concern. The humans will come looking for you, the elder said. And when they do, they will discover what they tried so hard to conceal. The question is, Elias Keller, where will your loyalties lie when that day comes? Elias knelt beside Myra, showing her how to adjust the makeshift telescope he'd constructed from salvaged parts of his escape pod. The night sky of Veridia spread above them, constellations both alien and somehow familiar. There, he said, pointing to a faint star. That's where Earth is, where I came from. Myra squinted through the eyepiece. It looks small. It is small, Elias agreed, smiling at her disappointed expression. But it's home to billions of people. People like you, she asked, turning those blue eyes, his eyes toward him. Yes, he hesitated. People who don't know your people exist yet. A month had passed since the memory wellspring had restored what was taken from him. Each day with Myra and Kelara felt like reclaiming a piece of himself, the self he'd been before Earth authorities had violated his mind. Yet each day also brought them closer to an inevitable confrontation. Kelara approached, her expression troubled. The Watchers have reported a ship entering our orbit. It bears Earth markings. Elias' heart sank. The Prometheus would have been programmed to send a distress signal if it was destroyed. They're coming for me. Or for evidence of what your previous mission discovered, Kelara said quietly. Myra looked between them, sensing the tension. Will they take you away again, Father? Before Elias could answer, a commotion rose from the center of the settlement. They hurried back to find Tavik, and the council gathered around a sophisticated communication device, one that hadn't come from Viridian technology. The humans are broadcasting a message, Tavik explained grimly. They demand we return their lost crewmen. They know I'm alive, Elias murmured. A council member named Drevin stepped forward. This is the opportunity to be rid of you, human. Your presence threatens the secrecy that has protected our people. My presence proves that humans and Viridians can coexist, even create life together, Elias countered, placing his hand on Myra's shoulder. Myra is living proof that our species are compatible in ways no one imagined possible. Which is precisely why the human authorities erased your memories, Kelara added. They fear what they cannot control. Tavik studied Elias thoughtfully. What would you have us do? Elias took a deep breath. Let me contact them. Let me convince them that peaceful contact is possible beneficial even. The genetic compatibility between our species could revolutionize medicine on both our worlds. And if they refuse, Drevin challenged, if they come with weapons instead of open hands, then I'll go with them, Elias said firmly. I'll protect your secret even if it means leaving. His voice caught as he looked at Kalara and Myra. Even if it means leaving my family again. That night, lying beside Kalara in the dwelling that had become their home, Elias traced the ridges along her spine, committing every detail to memory. I didn't fight hard enough last time, he whispered against her skin. I won't make that mistake again. Kalara turned to face him, her violet eyes luminous in the darkness. Last time you didn't know what you were fighting for, now you do. Their bodies came together with the familiarity of lovers reunited, each touch both memory and discovery. Elias lost himself in her, the alien sweetness of her scent, the strength in her lithe body, the way her skin seemed to glow faintly at the height of passion. As they moved together, he silently vowed that whatever came next, this would not be their final night. Later, watching her sleep, Elias made his decision. He would face his own people, reveal the truth they had tried to bury, and fight for the family that transcended worlds. Dawn broke over the sacred clearing as Elias stood beside Kalara and Myra, facing the Earth delegation. The shuttle had landed an hour earlier, a sleek diplomatic vessel rather than the military extraction he'd feared. Commander Ainsley, a stern woman with calculating eyes, assessed him from across the clearing. Dr. Keller, you've led us on quite a chase. Not intentionally, Elias replied evenly. I was merely surviving a crash landing. And apparently rediscovering old connections, Ainsley noted, her gaze shifting to Kalara and Myra. Connections we believed had been thoroughly severed. Tavik and the council stood to one side, tense and watchful. This unprecedented meeting, the first official contact between Earth and Veridia, balanced on a knife's edge. You know who they are, Elias stated, not a question. We recovered partial records from your previous mission, Ainsley confirmed. Enough to understand why certain measures were deemed necessary at the time. Elias felt Myra press against his leg, seeking reassurance. He placed his hand protectively on her shoulder. Those measures were illegal and unethical, he said firmly. You violated my mind to cover up unauthorized genetic experimentation and to erase my family. Ainsley's expression remained neutral. The situation is more complex than you realize, Doctor. Your relationship with the Veridian healer was unexpected, but your daughter. She studied Myra with undisguised scientific interest. She represents a biological breakthrough we never anticipated. She's not a breakthrough, Kalara interjected fiercely. She's a child. A child who proves our species can interbreed, Ainsley countered. The scientific and medical implications are enormous. Tavik stepped forward, his ancestral staff striking the ground with authority. We have allowed this meeting out of respect for Elias Keller, but the Veridian Council has not decided whether to permit further contact with humans. That decision may no longer be yours alone, Ainsley replied. We've detected 3 more human research vessels approaching this sector. First contact is inevitable now. Elias felt the weight of history pressing down on them all. Whatever happened next would shape the relationship between 2 worlds for generations to come. Then let it be done right, he said, looking from the Earth delegation to the Veridian Council. Not with secrets and memory wipes, but with transparency and respect. What exactly are you proposing, Doctor? Ainsley asked, her tone cautious but interested. A legitimate diplomatic mission, cultural exchange, medical research, ethical, consensual research into our genetic compatibility. Elias straightened his shoulders. With me as liaison between worlds. You're hardly impartial, Ainsley observed, nodding toward Kalara and Myra. No, Elias agreed. I'm invested in the best possible outcome for both our peoples because my family belongs to both worlds. A tense silence fell over the clearing as Ainsley considered his words. Finally, she nodded slowly. Earth authorities will require assurances, protocols. As will the Veridian Council, Tavik added. Kalara touched Elias' arm. What of us, of Myra? Elias turned to face her fully, taking both her hands in his. I lost you once through no choice of my own. This time I choose you, both of you, no matter what. He turned back to Ainsley. My condition is non-negotiable. My family stays together, whether on Veridia, Earth, or traveling between. Myra looked up at him with those striking blue eyes so like his own. Can we see the stars up close, Father? All of them. Elias smiled down at her. We'll make our home among them if we have to. The negotiations lasted until nightfall, but when they concluded, the foundations had been laid, not just for Elias' unique family, but for two civilizations on the brink of a new shared history. Later, as twin moons rose over Veridia, Elias stood with Calera at the edge of the settlement, Myra asleep against his chest. Tomorrow would bring challenges, skeptical officials, cultural barriers, the complicated logistics of bridging two worlds. But tonight, with the weight of his daughter in his arms and the woman he loved beside him, the future stretched before them like the star-filled sky, vast, unknown, and full of possibility. Do you regret returning to us? Calera asked softly, her head resting against his shoulder. Elias watched the starlight play across Myra's peaceful face. The child born of two worlds, once lost to him, now restored. The only thing I regret, he whispered, is all the time we lost. Calera's fingers entwined with his. We have the rest of our lives to make up for it. Above them, the stars of two distant solar systems shone down on the family that defied biology, memory, and the vast emptiness of space to find its way home.